Lance Hall here for Let's Discuss with Lance Hall. Happy to welcome Jason McIntyre of Voracious Scourge to the program tonight. How you doing, Jason?
I'm doing great, man. How you doing?
I am doing excellent. Here to talk about your new album, In Death, coming out September 18th on Massacre Records here in the States. Now, it's already been released overseas, right?
Right. It was released, I believe, August 21st, I believe, was the release date in Europe.
Now, I'm always curious with this, as I always was back in the day when, like, the Japanese versions of albums always had an extra track or something on it.
Yeah.
Why the staggered release dates?
Uh, from what I understand, it's just for some reason it has to do with promotion or something like that. So
Okay.
I'm not really sure. I talked to the A&R person here from Massacre in the U.S., and he told me I had to do something with promotion and things like that. So.
Yeah. Awesome. Now it's coming out on CD, vinyl, and cassette, which I'm hearing cassette's making a bit of a comeback nowadays.
Yeah, the last EP that we did, Our Demise, was released on cassette also, and I heard the same thing. I heard cassettes were, coming back. I don't know why, but they're coming back.
I mean, I know like 5 years ago, I talked to one band, Night Demon, out in California, and at the time, they were putting an EP out on cassette, and their reason was they sold a lot of those overseas, where a lot of the cars still had cassette players in them.
Right. It seems like, especially in Indonesia, that it's really big out there, from what
Yeah,
I understand. So,
yeah, and it's growing here in the states too. That's kind of cool. So this follows up your debut EP, Our Demise. This is your debut full length, In Death, correct?
correct. Yes, correct.
Amazing band here. I'm going to let you go with some of the names, and you've brought them in from different bands, Sinister, Suffocation, and Atheist. Tell us who does what in the band, so I don't butcher any names. There's a couple here I'm trying.
So,
I'm a little worried
uh,
about.
pretty much, me from a Suture, and then we have Mike Smith from Suffocation.
Right.
Everybody knows Suffocation.
Sure.
Tony Choi from Pestilence and Atheist.
Right.
Audrey Kloosterward from Sinister. And old friend of mine, Billy Richard from Cranial Sledge.
Okay. It was Audrey's name that was giving me fits, that last name.
Hey, I'm not even sure if I'm saying it right.
How did you all come together to form this band out of so many other different bands?
Well, it was kind of funny. I had a couple songs that I had written that, I thought you were pretty cool. And I've been friends with Audrey for quite a long time. I was a fan of Sinister, and he was a fan of Suture. And so one day I just hit him up on Facebook and was like, "Hey man, I got a couple songs. Would you like to lay the vocal tracks down on it?" And he told me, "Yeah, hell yeah, that'd be great." And then from there, I got in contact with Mike because one of my friends' bands used him as a session drummer on their album, and so I got his contact information from them and hit him up and sent him the tracks, and he was like, "Hell yeah, let's do it." And pretty much I had my friend Lance Strickland from Suture do the bass on the Our Demise EP. And when it came time to do In Death, I had actually reached out to Tony Choi during the Our Demise EP recording. Mike was like, "Hey, you might want to hit Tony up. He may want to be a part of this." I said, "That's great." So he gave me Tony's, contact info, sent him an email, didn't hear nothing back from him. Fast forward a year or so later, Tony hit me back up and was like, "Hey man, I'd love to be a part of the project. Is it still available?" I was like, "Nah, man, I just recorded the EP and it's already out." I was like, "But we're working on a deal with Massacre Records right now. If that goes through, I'll hit you back up and we could talk about it." And the deal went through, and so I hit him back up, and we worked out a deal for him to be on the album. I went to Miami, sat in on his sessions, for the bass tracks, and that's how that happened. So, and then Billy, I've been knowing him forever. We've always wanted to play in bands together. His band used to open up for mine, and my band used to open for his. And we're always like, "Hey man, one day we need to jam together."
Nice.
So 20 years later, the opportunity came about, and so I called him up. I was like, "Hey, you want to come be a part of this?" And he was like, "Hell yeah!" So That's how
Nice.
that all came about.
And then you've got some guest players as well. You got Annie LaRocque and James Murphy shredding together on a tune.
Right. James, he's actually done work, for my other band, Suture, in the past, and he also did some stuff for my friend Chad in Excommunicated. I'm also a part of that band. And Chad, he's in the industry, the audio industry, so he knows, tons of people, and he was the one that initially hooked me up with James as well as Andy. So it was, pretty exciting to get both of them on the same track.
Now, you talked about going to Miami when Tony was recording his bass tracks.
Right.
The drums were recorded on Long Island, vocals in another studio. So is this an album that was sort of, obviously you didn't all play together in the same room, sort of one that was assembled, I guess would be the word.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I wrote pretty much all the music here at my home studio, and I had drum tracks that I had programmed for the songs. Well, I sent that over to Mike, and he kind of listened to what I had and kind of did his own thing. Kind of kept the feel of the song and the soul of the song the same, but he did his Mike Smith. So and with Audrey, once we had guitars and drums, I sent it to him with the vocals, and he laid the vocal tracks down. So, and then, I went to Miami and worked with Tony on his bass tracks. So, it took a little while to get it together, but once we started rolling, it was pretty quick.
And then you produced everything, correct?
Yeah, and then I sent everything off to Jorg over at Sound Lodge,
right,
in Germany, and he mixed and mastered everything. So.
Wow. So a true worldwide international affair here,
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of the way I look at it too. It's like an international thing,
The cover art is fantastic. Talk a little bit about that. I know his first name was John. I'm going to let you go from there.
Oh man, I would butcher it, so I'm just going to say John too. That came about kind of last minute because I already had like one or two pieces that we were considering for the cover art. And once the album was completed, it just the art that we had for it just didn't feel like the album to me. Like it just didn't match what I envisioned for the album. So I was scrolling through Facebook one day and I happened to come across a band. I can't remember their name, but the artwork really caught my attention. And so I looked up who did it, and it was John. So I contacted him. And was like, look, man, this is really last minute. We got an album coming out, within a couple months. Would you like to, create the cover art for it? And he was like, hell yeah. So I kind of sent him over 3 tracks, I believe, from the album that were, some rough mixes and some lyrics. And was like, here, I really don't have any idea for the album cover. These are the songs. The only thing that I want is I want the album cover to be like fire, just like red, orange, black fire, And he came up with the album cover art for In Death, and it looks great. He kind of nailed it, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I want to jump into a few of the songs here. I made some notes. Of course, Dustin was nice enough to provide me with, an advanced download and stuff to listen.
Okay.
Retribution of the Damned, kind of sinister, atmospheric, perfect kind of intro to the album. I really liked that. Was that obviously by design, correct?
Right, yeah. Dennis came up with that one. He actually did some work with the Sinister album that just came out a couple months ago, I believe. And I really liked the stuff that I heard on that album. So I was talking to Audrey about it. And he was like, oh, yeah, Dennis did it. I bet he would, love to do our stuff too. And I was like, great, let me get in touch with him. So I, hit him up and we kind of went back and forth a few times with some ideas. And, the last idea was, Retribution of the Damned. And I just fell in love with it the first time I heard it. I was like, man, that's it. That's exactly what I'm hearing in my head, as an intro for the album.
Yeah.
So he did that. And he also did like the choir part at the end of the song In Death. There was like a choir going on at the end of that song, and he did that as well.
Nice. You launch into Heaven Scorched after that. Amazing video. And I love the tempo changes. Anytime there's tunes with tempo changes, it just really catches my ear, And believe it or not, I think the first song I really became aware of how much I liked that was Wild Side by Motley Crue,
Yeah, I hear you.
Can you tell us a little bit about Heaven Scorched?
Heaven Scorch, I think, was like the third song that I wrote for that album, the album. And it pretty much just came out. I mean, when I'm sitting down writing, some songs just come out. You know, I don't have to really think about anything. And that was one of those type of tracks, like it just happened. As far as the lyrics for that song, that was kind of a collaboration of things. There's this movie called The Prophecy, and in The Prophecy, there's this part of the movie where there's a vision of these angels on spikes and stuff in heaven. And then there is a Castlevania cartoon that's on Netflix that also has like demons and stuff like flying around, like attacking villagers and stuff.
Yeah.
And then also the Immolation album cover for Dawn of Possession, where the demons are attacking the angels. Like somehow all that formed the lyrics of Heaven Scourge. All that just formed the idea for that one song. So it was pretty cool.
That is cool. Very cool. Gonna jump ahead to Voracious Scourge, track 4. I love it when bands put out songs with the name of the band as the title. I just think that's really cool. I love the intro, and then I've got a note here. I've got Eager Whip, Insatiable Torment. Must have caught my ear or something. Love the intro on that one as well.
Nice. That's from one of the Monty Python movies. I can't remember exactly what movie it came from, but I was sitting at home one night and I was watching TV and that was on and that part came on. And I just thought it was hilarious. I was like, oh, that's great. Yeah. And then I always wanted to write a song about the bubonic plague, and it just kind of fit. It just kind of fit the whole thing. So
yeah, I just think it's so cool when I love the two that jumped to mind immediately were like Night Ranger did Night Ranger, and Dee Snider, when he had that band Widowmaker, did a song called Widowmaker.
Oh, yeah, I remember Widowmaker, yeah. That was a good song, too.
Yeah, awesome track.
I dug that. I'm a child of the 80s, so it's like I knew all that stuff. Like, I love everything from back then.
Excellent.
But yeah, and it's funny that you say that because I racked my brain for 6 months straight to find a different name for the song. I was like, man, I don't know if I want to name it Voracious Scourge or not. I want to name it something else, like maybe Black Death or The Plague or something, But it just kind of stuck and it fit, and I was like, screw it.
Yeah, perfect. I love it. You mentioned In Death, title track, of course, the album. Thing I noticed about this is slightly melodic, not quite the pedal to the metal pounding type thing.
Right.
Was that, how did that come about?
I don't really, when I sit down to write, I don't like consciously say, okay, well, I'm going to write, a brutal song, or I'm going to write a song that has melodic parts in it, or I'm going to write, a fast song. It just comes out. And, I love all forms of death metal. I love the brutal stuff, the technical stuff, the very old school raw stuff. And, there's some new bands I like. And so I try to kind of mix everything together because to me, I just like music that's interesting. And if it's interesting, it'll keep me listening to it. If it's fast the whole time, I'm going to kind of get bored of it, So I just try to mix it up a little bit and just try to, put a little flavor in there with the solos and, kind of put some melodies in there and, make each song different from the last, instead of having a whole album of the same song over and over again.
Right. I'm going to go in a little bit of a different direction here on the next track, which is A Life Condemned. That one, the note I've got here says really chugs. I like the guitar overlays. And on this one, I like the outro. I thought the outro was awesome on it as well. Little bit of insight on that one.
That one, it's funny because that was one of the tracks that I think that was the first track that I wrote after we put out the EP Our Demise. And that song actually was called A Life Demise from the very beginning, but the lyrics for the song were about something totally different. Like the original idea for the lyrics was about somebody that was in like a car crash or something and was stuck in a coma. And I don't know if you've ever heard of it's like surgical paralysis or anesthesiology paralysis, something I don't know what it's called. It's when anesthesiologist will give you the anesthesia, but you wake up during the surgery and you kind of feel what's going on, but you can't scream, and nobody knows that you're awake, but you know you're awake. It's like some kind of condition I read about. But that song was kind of about that at first, because like it just a life condemned, like you're condemned inside this body that's getting you know like operated on, and then all of a sudden they feel like they can't save your life, and then so that you feel them like dissecting you and stuff. It was more of like the gore style lyrics, and then I want to say about a month or two before the album was complete, I went back and rewrote those lyrics because I kind of wanted to stay away from that gore style in that song. I mean, we did that with Suture, so I wanted this to kind of be a little different. And actually, A Life Condemned is kind of like a continuation to In Death, the song In Death. The lyrics kind of go together.
Sure. Yeah, good stuff. Gonna go ahead to the next to last track, Tank Tread Evisceration. I guess first thing I wrote down was Blitzkrieg. This tune is like Sergeant Rock and Easy Company on their worst day, the most battle-ridden day there was. Inspiration for this song, am I even closer?
Well, it's funny because the inspiration for this song came from years ago. I was actually me and my friends, we used to always, send each other videos or pictures of people like Traces of Death or Faces of Death movies, where people getting torn up by this or that or getting mutilated, things you do when you're kids.
Right.
And like for some reason, this one video stuck in my mind, and it was this guy that was getting ran over by a tank, and I can't remember what country it was. It was either Iraq, Iran, or Syria or something like that. And from what I remember, it was like a fighter, like an ISIS fighter or one of those fighters like that betrayed the ISIS group, and so to make an example of him, they laid him on the ground and ran him over with a tank. I was like, good God,
yeah,
that's brutal. And for some reason, that always stuck in my head, and I wrote that song, and for some reason that just popped in my head after I heard the music for it. I was like, oh man, that'd be great.
Yeah.
It kind of fits it.
Definitely.
So that's how that came. That was just kind of strange.
Yeah. Well, hey, the things you do when you're young, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You close the album out with a cover, "Born Dead" by Death, of course. How'd you decide to close the album with that?
Well, in my other project that I worked with, Excommunicated, we had just done a covers album about 2 or 3 years ago, and we covered pretty much all the bands we loved, and one of the bands that we left off was Death. And I was like, man, I need to do a Death cover. That'd be great. So I talked to Mike about it, and I was like, hey, if we did a Death cover, what song or album would you like to do it off of? And he was like, well, Leprosy's my favorite album. And I was like, oh, great. He said, any song off Leprosy. So I just, I picked Born Dead because that was one of my favorite tracks. And, that's kind of how that worked out. And I love the way he kept it simple on the drums, but yet you could still, hear that Mike Smith in there, it's killer.
Yeah. I want to take you back in time. Now, usually I can research people and find a ton of stuff on them, and I try and bring up, hey, I read about when you were in this band in high school and stuff. I couldn't find a whole lot on you. So.
Yeah, we pretty much the only band that really did anything was Suture. We released a couple albums and a couple EPs. Played some fests back in the day, and did a little touring. But other than that, every other band I've been in's kind of been like a local type thing. Like we never did anything outside of Louisiana. But Suture was really the one that kind of went everywhere.
So how'd you get started in music and stuff? Was it at an early age, teenage? Have you always been in these heavy bands, or were you ever in like a cover band in high school where you did like Journey songs, or
Well, I want to say my love for music started when I was in first or second grade, because my uncle, he was a big Kiss fan, and I remember going to his house one day, and he had all these Kiss records, and I was like, hey, can I have your Kiss records? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, what? So he gave me all these records. He gave me from the first Kiss album all the way through Dynasty.
Wow.
So I had them all, man. I had Kiss, Dress to Kill, Hide and Hell, Alive, Destroyer, Rock and Roll Over, Love Gun, Alive 2, and then I had Dynasty.
Yeah.
And so I would listen to it every day. And it it was cool because he still had the poster that came from, I believe it was Alive 2, where they're all four standing up holding the American flag, and Peter Criss has the bloody rag on his head.
Yeah.
I remember hanging that in my bedroom window so people who drove by could see it. And I remember when my friends back then came over, it was like, my dad said I can't hang out with you anymore because you like Kiss and they're Satan worshipers. I was like, what? So it's crazy, And, from there, I went on to Iron Maiden and Judas Priest and Rat and Dokken, all these bands from the 80s. And then I discovered Metallica and Megadeth and Slayer. And then from there I went to Obituary and Deicide. So, my love of music started very young. I started playing guitar, I think I was like in 7th or 8th grade. And I think the first song I learned was Back in Black.
Yeah.
And then the second song I learned was Metallica's And Justice for All, like the little cool acoustic intro piece.
Right.
I sit there and practice that for hours and days and hours and finally got it. And from there, I just kept learning things, got the Metallica, song books and learned Master of Puppets album and, just kind of went from there,
Yeah. And then just kind of came up through, did you form your own bands or did you join bands or have you always been sort of the leader?
I had joined one of my friend's bands for a while, and then from there I joined another friend's band, and it was just, I was always joining everybody's bands, and then I want to say once Suture kind of started, me and Lance, put that together. My friend Lance Strickland, who did bass on our Demise EP, we put that band together, and then we did that for a long time. And Suture broke up probably around 2007 after we did the Skeletal Vortex album. Yeah. And from there, I joined a punk rock, hard rock, metal band in Baton Rouge called Pecker Nut. They're just, just a joke band, joke porno band. And it was hilarious, man. It's great fun, some of my best friends in the world, in that band. And then, from there, I did the Excommunicated with Chad. And, I jammed with a band called Deface that was, from here also. And then, from there, I just started Voracious Scourge, It's kind of a long line of things that happened.
Is there a big, metal scene down there in Louisiana, in Baton Rouge? Or are you the only one doing it? Or was there a bunch of other bands around doing it as well?
They have a bunch of bands around here, a bunch of really good ones that, don't get no exposure because, we're from Baton Rouge and we're not from, New Orleans, because New Orleans is like Crowbar and Solar Green, Flesh Parade and all that. But here you got bands like, Wolf System, which are really killer. Some friends of mine, another band called Datic, Decryption, Deface, the band I played with, they're from here. And there's just a couple bands that, they're really good from here. I don't think we get enough, exposure that we should.
Yeah.
So, but that's just how it is, it's not New Orleans.
It's funny you mentioned that one band, the Joke Porno band, because in doing my research, I looked up Baton Rouge, and Stormy Daniels hails from Baton Rouge.
Oh, yeah. Supposedly, my cousin, knows her or something, but you know how it is down here. Everybody knows everybody.
Everybody's cousin knows somebody's cousin who knows her.
Exactly. I know her. And I'm like, okay, cool, whatever.
Now, being down there, you a big LSU fan?
I'm not too big of an LSU fan. My family is huge. They're huge LSU fans. I'm more of a NFL guy. I love, the Saints.
Okay.
And I love NFL football. I love professional football. Not really big on college. I've just never been big on college. I don't know why. There's no particular reason. I just haven't.
Yeah, cool. Talking to Jason McIntyre here, guitarist for Voracious Scourge, their new album In Death coming out here in the States on the 18th of September on Massacre Records on CD, vinyl, and cassette. I've heard a copy. It's really, really good stuff. Crackerjack band here. So hopefully, what are the plans going forward? I mean, touring is just, non-existent right now. Do you have plans to put maybe another lyric video together or something? Or how are things moving forward now for the band?
Well, so far at the moment, I'm trying to take a break for about a month or so because this album took me forever to get together. Mainly because when you deal with a bunch of people and live far out out from each other. Everybody has their own life going on and things going on in their life, so there's a lot of start and stops. So I mean, the album took me over a year to finish and get together and get written. So I'm taking a break right now, but after this, I probably will start writing new material. I would love to put another lyric video out for maybe the song "In Death." I think that'd be pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And also, we were talking about maybe doing some kind of touring late 2021 or 2022. It just depends on what's going on in the world. It's, everything is so crazy right now. So I mean, we are talking about putting together some shows. It's going to take a lot of preparation.
Yeah,
so
definitely. All right, Jason, I always like to end my interviews with just some fun questions. I'm hoping these are questions you've never been asked. Sounds good?
Sounds good to me.
Favorite toppings on your pizza?
Onions and pepperoni.
Okay. Favorite toy growing up as a child?
Transformers.
Given your choice of household chores, you going to do dishes or the laundry?
Laundry.
Favorite old school wrestler?
Oh man, that probably had to be the Ultimate Warrior.
The Ultimate Warrior. Okay, very cool. Let's see, what else do I got here? Last music you listened to other than your own?
Peter Tosh.
Peter Tosh. Oh, very cool.
Oh yeah, big reggae fan. I love reggae.
Nice. What is a day off from music like for you? If you're gonna just totally pull the reins back on the music and do something totally away, what do you do on a day off from music?
Oh, I mean, I just chill out at home and then play around with my daughter and watch TV, and that's about it.
Very cool.
I just chill out.
If you could pick a television show to have a Voracious Scourge song placed in, what show would you pick?
Oh man, what about can it be a show that's not aired anymore?
Absolutely.
Married with Children.
Nice. Ed Bundy, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Last one, and this is the one we have the most fun with, and I was asking this before all the biopics came out. If they were to make a movie of your life, what actor would you pick to have portray you in the movie? It's your movie, your life. You can pick anybody.
Me in my life, anybody. Oh man, that's a tough question. Maybe. Yikes! I don't know, man. Robert Downey Jr. I don't know.
Okay.
I think he's a cool dude. So we look nothing alike, but
loved him in the Iron Man movies.
He could be it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Jason, it's been a blast talking to you once again. We've been chatting with Jason McIntyre, guitarist for Voracious Scourge. Once again, that album is called In Death, coming out here in the States September 18th. Obviously, it's going to be, at all the major outlets. Are you guys selling it all yourselves? I like to point people in that direction as well.
I believe we'll have a couple copies for sale. I think around maybe 25 or 30, and that's about it. Everything else is going to have to be, gotten from Amazon or from whatever outlets that Massacre, is supplying.
And where would the people go if they want to get them directly from you? Those 25 or 30.
They can go to our Facebook page. It's just facebook.com/Voracious Scourge.
Perfect. Jason, thank you very much for taking the time. It's always cool to chat with different people from different parts of the world and country and different musics and stuff. And this has been a blast. I hope it's been a good time for you as well.
Oh, yeah, man. I've had a great time.
All right. Take care, man. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.